Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rings and Things podcast. I'm here with one of our designers, Miss Kendall, again, to help us get all the details around what we need to do once we receive our ring to make sure that she stays in all of her glory as we get to wear her every single day.
Awesome. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you already started the conversation by telling everyone to get insurance. So beyond insurance, right, let's hope that that's, covered, and we can get into that again if we need to. But let's say, you've gone through the proposal, you've been wearing your ring for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks. What are some of the things that you tell your clients around taking care of it, making sure it's clean, making sure it gets that perfect sparkle every day?
It's so different for everyone's lifestyle, but I would say right when you're wearing the ring, it's new and it's exciting. So I find brides are cleaning it a lot more frequently in the beginning of when they're wearing it. Just like anything, you get a new car, you're taking way better care of it than you are after owning it for a year. Yep. So many ways to clean it at home. This doesn't need to be done professionally. So I give all of my clients a little cleaning pen. So we use that a lot, which is great. And then really it's just about figuring out how this new expensive piece of jewelry works with your lifestyle. So maybe you're someone who goes to the gym every day. Don't bring your ring. But now what are we going to do? Because we don't want you putting the ring in the locker in the gym. So maybe we're buying accessories for your ring, like a little sweatband with a zipper or a little necklace you can hook it on to. So just figuring out the gaps in your lifestyle where the ring doesn't make sense. What are we doing with the ring during those times to make sure that it's going to be safe and protected no matter what? So that's a big kind of thing to think about now that you have this awesome new shiny expensive piece of jewelry on your hand.
Yeah, amazing. I didn't even think about that, buying another sort of accessory to help hold it when you need to do something else.
Yes.
You talked about the sweatband with the zipper. Is that a thing? Can you buy that on Amazon?
Yes, so I love those. For any of my friends, I have a ton of friends who are super into health and fitness, and then a bunch of friends who work in the medical fields, whether they're RAs or PAs. So I have a bunch of friends who are into health and fitness, or they're in the medical field, whether they're, nurses or maybe they're a PA. And that's the number one gift I give them when they get engaged. So you can buy it off Instagram. There's a few smaller businesses. I like to buy them from the smaller businesses. It just feels, I want to support them. So there's a few. Just search it up. It's a sweatband. They have a little zipper, so it unzips. There's usually a clasp or a hook of some sort inside. So you're securing the ring in there, and then second layer of security, you're zipping it shut. It's on you. I really prefer that, even for little things you're at the airport and you're washing your hands. I'd rather you not take your jewelry off and get kind of the soap and stuff on there, even though it may dry and make it foggy, than take your rings off and put them on the counter and leave them. So any kind of fastener to your body is great. The sweatbands, I like them because they're so easy to remove on and off and slide it in there. Really popular is also necklaces. They make wishbone necklaces that you can easily loop the ring onto, so you don't have to take off the necklace and take it on. It's a little gadget. Those are awesome too, but I just personally don't love the look.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great gift to give to any of your friends if they're getting engaged and they have that kind of lifestyle. Super affordable gift, thoughtful and protective.
Yeah, I love that. I love that gift. And what you mentioned too around, I think that's something I think about is having this beautiful ring that's, $10K worth of diamonds, right? And you have to go to the bathroom in a public place and sit it on that gross counter.
Yes.
That's the worst.
It is, yeah. And I mean, at that point, I'd rather you just clean it with your hands on. First off, washing your hands isn't going to damage your ring. The only thing is, if you don't wash it good enough, the soap could get stuck on the diamond and then it makes it cloudy. That's when you're going to need to clean the ring. But again, I'd rather you do that and keep it on your person than chance losing it. And it happens. It's an easy accident and it's frequent.
Well, and that's why you need insurance.
Yeah, everything comes back to ring insurance. I swear.
It really does. Oh my gosh, yeah. So we talked about cleaning pens. What is sort of the cadence to expect when it comes to actually sending your piece back to a jeweler to get that professional cleaning done?
Yeah, you should really only need to do that once a year. Okay. And that's for deeper maintenance. So that's when you need the polish for your platinum, or you need your white gold ring rhodium plated. That's not like a simple cleaning. But yeah, you should do that every year because it's just a good opportunity for your jeweler to like do a little annual checkup. Make sure all the prongs are tight. Make sure nothing's loose. If we can catch those little like issues ahead of time, if we know the prong is loose, we can just tighten it back up and it's not going to get looser and looser and then that diamond falls out. So I would say do that about once a year. Whatever, your jeweler provides, do that. But cleaning at home is super easy. So you don't need to send your ring back to your jeweler every month to do that. There's many of options to do it at home.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the more you clean it, the better, because we're paying a lot of money for sparkle. So, like, let's keep it sparkly.
Yes. Seriously. I actually noticed that when I started wearing my diamond studs, hairspray and, like, just washing my face, like, everything gets there. And so after a while, like, it's kind of sparkly. But then you look and you're like, wait a second, that's kind of cloudy.
It's, like, foggy.
Yeah.
And if you have any black inclusions in your stone, when it gets dirty, they're going to become a lot more noticeable. Because think about it, it's like a white cloud, and now there's a big black dot, where when it's nice and crystal clear, that black dot's distracted by all this sparkle. So that's something I actually do when I'm showing diamonds to clients, when we're looking at loose stones. It sounds funky, but I'll like take the diamond and like smush it between my hands, get my lotion, get my hand sanitizer like all over and make that diamond look dirty. Because I would like to hope that all of my brides are cleaning their ring weekly, but they're not. They're going to be cloudy. So if the inclusion's like kind of bothering you when it's clean, it's going to bother you more when it's dirty. And I would say your ring is dirty more often than it is clean.
Right. That's so true. And when you're thinking about that amount of inclusion, right, like you're kind of saying, okay, like here's like the worst it will look. Is that a certain inclusion level that usually you'll start to see, or like is there a like very is there a level where you can have clarity that doesn't have that as an issue? Is there like a bare minimum?
So this would kind of go back, this is all about the 4 C's, and I think each jeweler has their own opinion on like where the line is in the sand of like you won't be able to see anything, you will be able to see something. Typically, I would say most commonly everyone thinks that's between like the VS2, which stands for very slightly 2.
Okay.
That is like the lowest you can go where you shouldn't be able to see anything. With that said, it's just not that cut and dry. You can have a VS2 stone that maybe only has one inclusion, but that one inclusion is a giant black speck. Where you could have an SI1, which is the grading right under VS2, that has maybe 10 inclusions, but they're all tiny little white wisps. So you see the one in the VS2, but you're not seeing them in the SI1. So there's not really a hard rule because it's so stone for stone. That's why clarity, I think, is like the trickiest of the 4 C's, because it's not just that like cut and dry, but really we wanted to avoid the black ones. The black ones are going to be the inclusions that we see the most. So just they'll be flagged on the certificate. Any reputable jeweler you're working with should flag those for you, and you should never be buying a diamond that you're not seeing. So photos and videos should show those inclusions if they're in there.
Yeah, okay, great. And so when we think about post ring care, those are just the things that if it looks bad at first, it's only going to continue to look bad if it gets a little dirty or if something else happens.
Absolutely. Like if it's in pristine condition and not looking great, when it's getting like dirtier and foggier, it's just not going to get better.
It's just not. Okay. And so when we think about post engagement ring care, is it the same care instructions for natural diamond versus lab diamond versus gemstone? Are there any variations or things that you'd have to think about if you choose a specific type of stone?
Yes, absolutely. So lab and natural diamonds, you can treat those the same. They're chemically the same composition. So any like cleaning techniques or just like maintenance, all that is going to be the same. And diamonds in general, lab or natural, they're really tough. So you don't really need to worry about them too much. You can clean them any which way, whether that be steaming it or in an ultrasonic or with dish soap or with a cleaning pen, like all of those are good. Now, when you get to gemstones, they're more delicate. They're more of a sensitive stone. So some of them we don't want to put in the ultrasonic. It can disturb the composition of the stone. They're way more sensitive to heat. If a gemstone gets exposed to too much heat, it can change the color. This is professionally done. We call those heat treated stones, where you essentially like heat it up so much it makes the color more vivid. But if you're not doing it professionally, I don't know why your hand would be in an oven, but if your hand is in an oven too long, like you can change that ring. So gemstones, you just need to, talk to your jeweler or research like each stone specifically what care needs to go for that. But with a diamond, you not less to worry about.
Okay. So I have 2 follow-up questions to that.
Yeah.
The first one is going to be around that gemstone, post life with your gemstone. You mentioned heat. So what kind of, you kind of joked about an oven, and that made my brain go directly to, what if I'm a chef? What if I'm a baker? Like, should I actually avoid a gemstone just because I'm actually way more prone than normal to be putting my hands in and out of a fire? Or, if I'm a big, heavy, like barbecue, or just like thinking about those types of lifestyles?
Yeah, I mean, gemstones are sensitive, but the thing is, like, they're going to change over time no matter what. Even just like the lifespan, if you kept the gemstone in a jewelry box and never touched it, they can change. I mean, these are like, they're natural elements. So things are going to, move around and adjust, especially we see it with like color and hue. So yes, I would say if you are in the kitchen doing crazy things with your hand, or maybe you're a glass blower, take your ring off.
Yeah.
You can still wear the gemstone, like, so fun. And I'm not saying for sure if you're a baker, your gemstone will change. It's not that easy. But if we're reoccurringly exposing it to heat every day, you likely will speed up some of those changes.
Yep, exactly. Okay, fair enough. And then when it comes to, it sounds like the diamonds are pretty easy to take care of at home for your day-to-day maintenance. What's like the cocktail of sort of a cleaning solution that you recommend to people if they don't have a cleaning pen yet?
Yes, dish soap, but the most important thing, so like lukewarm water, or you can get hot. You're not going to ruin your gold or your diamonds, but you don't want to burn your hand. Just make sure that the drain is covered. Never wash your jewelry over an open drain. We don't want to drop it down there. So that's like,
yes,
if you're going to take anything away, like cover the drain,
or
just use like a bowl.
Yes,
and then just a soft bristled toothbrush and some dish soap. The dish soap is great because it's going to help get all those oils off of the stone. You just want to give it a good scrub. Not too hard that you're like jabbing and moving the metal, but just enough to get like underneath the diamond. That's the part you're going to want to focus on. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can, if you haven't cleaned it in a long time, a good thing you can do is like boil some water and then kind of hold like a steamer on top of it. So don't dip the ring in the boiled water, but just like hold it above the steam for a second. That'll help just like loosen everything up. So then when you scrub, it'll come off easier.
It'll come easier.
Yeah,
Okay.
Totally achievable at home.
Okay. And you want to do that, you said like once a month? Every couple months?
I do it like once a week.
Okay.
That might be overdoing it, but I paid a lot of money for my diamonds. I want them to be shiny and look good. And honestly, it's kind of therapeutic. So I do it every Sunday. It's just part of my like Sunday routine.
Yeah.
That might be excessive. Really, just like if you're looking at your stone and you're like, meh, then like let's clean her up. Yeah, it's time.
It's time to clean it up. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so we talked about, when it's time to get your ring back to a jeweler to do that heavy maintenance. We should think about that as like taking our cars in for maintenance. It's a part of life. You need that oil change. We need to remove the oil from our rings. So that sounds pretty natural. So just, set a calendar invite for yourself and make sure your ring is always pristine. You mentioned earlier, though, around the different metal types and what those require for maintenance. So I want to talk about what rhodium plating is, and I want to talk about the polishing needs of a platinum ring.
Absolutely. So the main metals that we're going to see for fine jewelry, it's going to be platinum, which is that silvery color, or gold, which we'll see in white gold, which is the silvery color, yellow gold, and rose gold, which is like the pinky rosy color. Those are the main 4 metals we're going to see. For anything gold, we're maintaining for color. And to make this as like layman's terms as possible, like gold we know is yellow. So when we're creating rose gold and white gold, we're alloying those with a bunch of other materials to make it those colors. So for white gold, although it is white, it is alloyed, it's not a yellow metal at all. The final step to make it that like high shiny color is you dip it in rhodium. So over the time when you're wearing it, you'll notice the rhodium will wear off and the ring's going to look a little warmer. It is never going to turn yellow. It's just going to look a little warmer. All you need to do is send it back to your jeweler and they'll dip it in rhodium. You don't need to remove any stones to do this. It's extremely easy, extremely affordable if your jeweler isn't covering it. To do this repair, you just dip it, take it out, you're done. Looks brand new again. You can do the same for rose gold, but I will say it's not needed as often. White gold, we're doing that maybe every year or two.
Okay.
Yellow gold, the color will never change because gold is truly yellow. Yep. So pretty much no maintenance there. And then for platinum, platinum is a white metal, so the color will never change because it is truly white, but it scratches easier. So what you'll see with a platinum ring is it'll be a lot more like fine little scratches, which almost give it a matte finish, which takes away that shine. So maintenance for that, your jeweler just needs to polish the ring up. Super, super easy. So that's really the main difference between the two is, and that's what I always ask my clients, like, do you care more about maintaining color or maintaining for scratches? That's really kind of what it comes down to.
And that'll help them decide if they want to do a white gold or a platinum.
Absolutely. Unless we have other factors like, you know, like budget, durability, or allergies, like those can affect the metal choices between those two. But as for maintenance, it's really like color, or do you want to maintain for scratches?
Okay. And so are either one of those things something you can do at home? This rhodium plating sounds kind of intense. I guess not on that. And then polishing? Can you polish at home?
You can, but I wouldn't recommend it. When you're polishing, you are taking off a super thin layer of metal from the ring. So I would just worry that you might take off more than you need to take off. On top of that, it would probably be just as expensive to buy the tools to polish it as it is to go get it polished. I know my company, they cover it all. So you're doing it for free anyway, but say you were out of town and wanted to get it done somewhere, it would be more expensive for you to buy all the materials and the time to do it yourself than to just drop it off and get it done.
Okay, so what would you say if your jeweler, so if you didn't buy your ring from Wove and it's not covered, what's the general price to get something rhodium plated or to get it polished?
Good question. It'll vary. I would say in like smaller cities, it'll be a lot cheaper than expensive cities. Maybe between like $20 to $50, depending on like what condition it's in. If it's a really thick, heavy piece that's rhodium plating, it'll be more expensive because we're using more rhodium to plate it. Polishing, same thing. Like if it's a thicker, heavier piece with nooks and crannies everywhere, that bench jeweler is taking more of their time to polish the piece. Got it.
That makes sense. Okay. So we've talked a lot about cleaning and maintaining. What happens if after 6 months something changes on your body and your ring no longer fits? Resizing. What does that look like, feel like? Are there things to consider if you start to feel like after a few months or maybe a couple years of wearing your ring that now's the time that I kind of need the size to change?
Yeah, we resize almost every ring because your body's not going to be the same throughout your whole life. Especially women, you know, go through fluctuations if you get pregnant. That just it changes you. So even little things like weather, like when you're in cold weather, your hands are going to be a little bit thinner. But if you're in the heat, you're sweating, you're now swelling, like your hands are going to get bigger. So you can resize nearly any ring, but there are some styles that you can't.
Okay.
Eternity bands, incredibly popular right now. You cannot resize those. If you think about it, the diamonds are all the way around, so there is no blank metal for us to like cut and add to or cut and remove. So I always tell my clients for eternity bands specifically, I'd rather you air up in size, because then we can add beads to the inside and make it a little bit smaller. But there's nothing we can do to make that ring larger. Resizing, you typically can get away, depending on the setting, with like 1 to 2 full sizes up or down, but really it's going to come down to like what that setting style is and how big of a change we're trying to make to it. Process for that, you're essentially going to do it on the bottom of the ring. You'll cut it and like add a little bit of metal or cut it and tighten it. So if you have a thicker band, it is going to be harder to resize the ring than if it was like a thinner piece. So it's very, very situational for like what style ring you got.
Okay. And who's resizing that? Is it only the jeweler that you purchased from, or can you really take it into any jeweler to go through that resizing process?
So any bench jeweler should be able to do it. However, for all maintenance, I do always recommend going back to wherever you got the ring from, just from a trust aspect. But say you move cities, or it's just not possible, or the jeweler doesn't offer it anymore. What I would, and I teach my brides to do this, almost all diamonds are inscribed. So they have teeny tiny little tattoos on the girdle of the stone. You can take magnification, read that tattoo, and just make sure the ring that you're dropping off is the ring that you are getting back. We hear those horror stories of people swapping out stones.
Wow.
So, yeah, wow. And it's sad, and I don't think it's as common as it's talked about, but it does happen. So I would just be wary of who you're bringing it to. Look them up. If they have really bad Google reviews, maybe don't go there. You know, this is an expensive piece.
Right.
But yeah, I always teach my brides when they come back for like wedding bands or whatever, like just how to find that inscription. So even if you really can't see it, if that jeweler watches you find that number, even if you're really not reading it and you can't find it, they're going to be like, okay, I'm not going to mess with this girl because she knows her diamond.
Right,
That's another thing about inclusions. I know people always talk about wanting to avoid inclusions. And of course, you don't want something that's like noticeable and going to bother you. But if your diamond has a tiny little, like, let's say a wisp, which is like a little cloud looking thing at the top corner of your stone, there's nothing a jeweler can do to make an inclusion appear or disappear. So it's almost like a birthmark for your diamond. So if you can look at it and be like, oh, well, I know that that little dot is next to that prong, you're good for life. Like that is your stone's birthmark. So inclusions, I don't think, are all that bad for like security reasons. You know?
No, absolutely. And I think another point that comes up with that is the importance of having trust with the jeweler that you initially work with. Like, you know, a lot of us think that, hey, it's a one-time thing. Yes, it's a big purchase, but it's kind of like one and done. There's sort of nothing else you really need to do with that jeweler. So you really are only thinking about maybe the best price to get for your ring, but not necessarily building a connection or trust with that jeweler. And what you're saying is, look, this is a long-term commitment.
It is.
You want to be able to go back to the person that you bought from and know that they will take care of you and whatever happens with your ring after that point.
If you, from the beginning, are getting bad vibes from whoever you're talking to about buying a ring, don't do it. This is someone, aside from like, yeah, it's a big purchase. You want to make sure you feel good about it. Hopefully you're going back to this person. Maybe you have a child and you want a gorgeous push present. Like, jewelers, they love to be your jeweler for life. They want to help. We get invested into you and your life. So like the more we get to see you, even if it's for the repair, it's for the cleaning, like maybe you're not buying something new, like we want you to come back to us. So I would definitely say, like, if you're not vibing with that person in the beginning, find someone that you trust. Find someone that your best friend has used, that you have personal references for. It's very, very important. You're giving this person a lot of money. You want to trust them.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's why this conversation around post ring purchase care is so important, because it isn't just about, you know, what we can all DIY at home or what we can try to, you know, hope to find another jeweler in our area to do that rhodium plating or to, because again, it's sort of you still having to trust to leave your diamonds there with someone overnight or for a period of time. And so you also want to make sure that the advice they're giving you is right? Like they're not trying to resize your eternity band. They need to tell you realistically what are the impacts of some of the things that, or changes maybe that we want to do. Like that later when we want to do the upgrade, being honest about, okay, here's your current setting, here's what we can do, here's what we can't do. But you want to work with someone who's designed or helped work on that original ring.
Yep. I always take, this is like a funny example, but I remember like hearing a parenting advice one time. And it was like, when you're telling your kid like no, explain, and I guess I'm using a parenting example, but this could go for like if you're managing a team, like if you're saying no, explain like no and why. Like why am I shooting you down for this? So if a client comes to me and they're asking for something that I don't think is a good idea, I'm not just going to be like, no, we shouldn't do that. I'm going to take the time and explain to you like why I don't want to do this to your ring, so you better understand. And that's just the approach I take. Maybe Joe Schmo doesn't care about these tiny details that I'm telling him, but at least you can walk away even if you didn't want to understand. You know why my logic is. You're not like, oh, well, Kendall told me we can't do that. And the bride to be is like, well, why can't I do that? Like, now I'm not the bad guy because I'm explaining to you. So I think that's very important for making the ring and designing the ring, but all that post-care, just like you said.
Yeah.
If you come to me with your eternity band, I'm gonna say, no, I'm sorry, I can't make this bigger. It's not that I'm lazy and I don't want to.
Right.
There's no metal. I can remove a diamond. Is that what you want me to do?
Right,
You know, it's a lot more complex than a lot of that.
Yeah.
Rings they're engineered, you know?
Yep.
It's like a bridge. You can't do some things.
You just can't make it happen. Great. So on that same vein, let's talk about upgrades, changes later down the line. What is that like? When is sort of the time when people start thinking about that for their ring?
Yeah, you can upgrade whenever. We see a handful of reasons. So maybe you guys got married when you were young and now you're, 10 years down the line, you're in a better financial position and you want to spoil your bride with that. That's awesome. Or maybe your daughter's getting married and it would mean so much to pass that diamond down. So now mom gets a new ring. Or maybe, God forbid, you come across a hard time in life and that is a commodity. It's gold and it's diamond. So we need to offload it because that money could help us in other parts of life. There's so many reasons we see people, trade in or upgrade rings. Even the ring that he proposed with, I don't like it. It happens.
Yeah.
So that's conversations you want to be having with your jeweler. What do their policies look like? And then just work through it. I am a sucker for holding on to all diamonds. I know financially that doesn't make sense for everyone. A lot of the time when you're upgrading, you want the old diamond, you want to get that value back. So say I had a $5,000 diamond, please take this back and I'll put that money towards my upgrade. That's very common. But if you can financially swing it, maybe this is just the jeweler in me. I'm like, hold on to everything. I'm one of 4 daughters. I wish I had more gemstones passed down to me,
Right,
so that's always my advice to people. If you can swing it, hold on to it because you can make a new piece out of it.
Yeah.
You can gift it to someone that you love. There's just so many fun things you can do with an heirloom piece.
Yep, totally. And I love that too because the upgrade doesn't just mean sort of getting something brand new and just discarding the old thing or trading it in for cash towards your new ring. It's about how do you keep that chapter of your life in a way that is sentimental to you. So either it's, passing it down to your children or creating a trois mois with your old diamond and your new one or creating some sort of other setting style that can incorporate both of them. But I think a lot of times when we think about upgrade, we're just thinking about the new flashy thing and I think it's really beautiful when you can pay homage to the first chapter or the first 5 chapters of the story.
I think we might just be sentimental suckers.
Maybe, and we're a jewelry for a reason.
Yes, I'm keep it all, hoard
yes,
it all,
keep
take
it all.
I have parcels of little black diamonds, these random things. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. I'll find something eventually.
Yeah,
It'll
we'll
come
make
to
something.
me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the other cool part about this world of custom jewelry now is there's infinite amount of things you can create. You don't have to just go buy diamond hoops from a store. You can literally create diamond hoops from your old ring.
Absolutely.
In any way. And that's why it's great to work with an actual jeweler who can help you design those things when you're thinking about an upgrade or you're thinking about the life after, that initial proposal.
And jewelers get very excited about it. Heirloom projects are my favorite. When you come to me with grandma's ring, who it's not your style, but we have all this awesome material to work with, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's special for you. Now, I've made wedding bands where she has a ring from her great-grandma, her grandma. They took a diamond from everyone's ring, and now she has these generations of rings on her hand.
Oh, my gosh.
And her children will get it. It's just cool to have all these stories behind it. And diamonds are billions of years old, natural diamonds. So to have that and just gets older and older and passed down and passed down, it's very sweet.
Yeah. I love that.
Hold on to it if you can. I know you have a daughter.
Oh, yeah. I'm always thinking about, this is getting to her. And the nice thing, too, I think is again, as someone who may not have bought as much fine jewelry, is not a jeweler, you kind of think about these pieces as the pieces that they are today.
Yep.
But you can melt down gold. You can melt down these metals. You can take that, loose diamond out and place it and do something else. And so I think a lot about everything I get, if I choose that fine jewelry piece, not only is it post my proposal, post my, life, but then it can be literally remade into something new for that person, but still have that same story connected.
She's going to have a great jewelry collection when she grows up.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so fun. I don't know. I girl math my way into jewelry pieces all the time with it. I'm if I buy this diamond necklace. There's 127 diamonds. If I have 5 kids, everyone can make a wedding band, you know? I'm like, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
It's not even for me. It's for my hypothetical future children.
Yeah. No, it's so funny too, because I thought the same thing when we were at one of these, like, let's call it just like an expo, right? And I was looking at different pieces, and I 100% girl math myself into multiple pieces, because I was like, oh yeah, like I'll give Kaya, you know, this when she's in high school graduation, and the diamond studs can go to her when she gets, you know, her sweet 16, and like
I love it.
all the things, because it's fun.
So
So it's like the first stage, especially even just from a like fine jewelry world. Obviously, you know, for a lot of us, our engagement ring is our first piece of fine jewelry. But then, you know, a lot of the post-care we're talking about applies to any piece of fine jewelry that they would have.
Absolutely.
And so if you're saying, okay, you know, maybe I get my grandmother's ring and I want to melt that down and create, you know, a pendant or something that I can now wear on a necklace on my, you know, my wedding day, and it's something very sentimental. All those things match up to us saying, hey, like these things are collectibles. They're things that you can recreate over and over. And so that post-purchase experience is not just about, you know, make sure you change the, you know, wheels on your, you know, that's not all the boring like maintenance stuff. It's also just like take care of your things, because it can literally morph into new items for years to come.
100%. The better shape you keep it in now, the better it'll be for long term and for you to make all those future pieces. So fun. I mean, heirloom projects. I wish I could just tell everyone, like, hold on to everything.
Everything, you know? Everything. Okay, so I know a lot of people talk about, you know, being nervous about traveling with their ring, you know, especially around that honeymoon time. But, like, even, you know, 4 years down the line, right, when maybe it's just, like, it feels just like a part of your body, right? So I feel like that's probably the more often the times that, like, you kind of, like, set and forget it. You don't really think about it as much because it's just been with you for so long. What is that like? What are some pieces of advice you'd give people who are starting to travel or continuing to travel, you know, for years to come with this ring?
Yes, so important. This is one of the reasons I love Wove's process so much, is because you get that replica try-on ring that is perfect for traveling, because then you can leave the expensive one at home. But if that's not the case, you don't have a perfect replica of your ring, I don't want to tell you not to travel with your jewelry, because you should enjoy it. You should take it places. But when you're traveling, you're out of your routine. So you're not putting it on your bathroom counter. You know, it's just you're out of your routine. There's so many more chances to lose it. Maybe you're on a vacation in Italy and you're hitting up every winery, and now we're 5 glasses of wine deep. It's easier to lose something.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say don't bring it, but I do want to say don't travel without it insured, for sure. And like, know where you're going. You know, if you're going to, you know, I'm going to say like a sketchier place, like that's not the time you want to be flaunting everything. You don't want to expose yourself so much. So think about where you're going, what you should be bringing with you, what you should be leaving. A lot of brides, I know when they travel, they'll leave the engagement ring at home and just wear the wedding band. So, you know, you still have that like, hey, I'm married symbol. But the big expensive ones at home. But if you do bring it with you, just make sure it's insured, and just be aware. A lot of hotels have the little safes. You can put it in the safe. Don't leave it like out and vulnerable everywhere. So yeah, I don't want to say don't travel with it, because that's not fun, but be smart with it.
Yeah. I think the sort of avoiding sketchy spaces is so smart, because it's literally like wearing like, you know, a huge flag on your head that says I have money and I have something. Literally rob me. And it's not even that they have to like take anything out of your purse. All they have to do is grab your hand, snag that ring off, and go. And they've got 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever it is.
Right. So easy,
Pops it off.
Yeah. So just be smart. Be aware of where you're going, what you're doing. It's great to show off, but we don't need to show off everywhere all the time.
Totally.